Hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
Video number
7.
7.
7. Not that we care about numbers anymore. We've
No.
given up on the numbers because they're all bullshit.
Well, synchronistic numbers.
Some
are
of
good.
them are.
I like synchronistic numbers.
You know, I do too, actually.
Yeah.
I was just saying before to Bella, I was just down the street and I had 3 lots of 1111 within half an hour of each other. So, yeah, not all numbers though. It's just the COVID numbers were over, isn't it?
COVID numbers were over. And, you know, if you didn't watch our video, I think it was last week, video number 6, we talked about how to know if you're aligning in 5D consciousness, and synchronistic numbers was one of those little pointers. So if that intrigues you or interests you and you haven't watched it, go back to our previous video. I'm Bella.
Jane, we are friends. We are not experts.
We are definitely not experts, according to my husband.
Well, according to many people's husbands, even some wives. No.
Yes, we just like to talk about current events that are happening on this wonderful planet of ours, planet Earth, and you know, some of the craziness and the chaos that is ensuing. What's the word? Ensuing around us, and we just like to highlight and talk about some of the things that are going on, because we find that the topics that we like to talk about and that we talk about can sometimes be very polarizing and very confronting and very triggering for people to experience. So we just like to have a little weekly chat.
Yeah, and a lot of the confronting, and particularly confronting, are the numbers of children that are being brought up from underground right now, and how this sort of plays into the lockdown in Melbourne and all of these things that at the moment it's all about bringing the kids up from underground that have been trapped in breeding programs and child sex trafficking and all that stuff. And we don't really want to focus on that today so much as our vibrational response, really, I suppose.
Our vibrational response to the trafficking, or our vibrational response in general?
Well, in general, I guess, and how we... I think this sort of started... I was watching a documentary last night. Oh my goodness. Sorry,
we have Kookaburra medicine coming to play with us.
Hello, Cookie, come over here.
That's really interesting, because we just said that we weren't going to talk about the sex trafficked children. However, Kookaburra medicine represents family, it represents community, it represents connection. So I feel like that was a bit of a sign there to maybe divulge a little bit onto that before you go into the documentary.
Okay. Where do we start with it? I mean, there's a lot at the moment about all the kids and the FEMA camps and people locked down in Victoria and other parts of the world, particularly New Zealand. For our part of the world, there's big stuff going on in South Africa, and people are scared and they don't understand, and there's a lot of anger about the lockdown, and I was pretty angry about it too, until I sort of learned that the reason they're locking down so hard is to keep people off the streets, because they really don't want people seeing what's going on, because there's a lot of apparently in Melbourne in particular, in Australia, all around Australia, but particularly in Melbourne, there's a spider web of tunnels and
underground tunnels where there are, all around the planet, there are approximately 9 million children who are being kept as slaves. They're being kept underground. They are being tortured. They are being trafficked. They are being bred and
experimented.
They are being experimented on, and they are being drained of their blood, and their body releases a fear hormone called adrenochrome, which is taken from their brain, and this is the hottest drug on the market. Basically, if you're a wealthy elite person on this planet, you are feeding on the blood of these children.
And the sacred geometry of the
pineal gland.
The pineal gland, the life force. We've talked about this before, but it's around, and this is really for me now because I believe I see the bigger picture, and the lockdown is necessary in Melbourne. It's necessary to keep people off the street.
Because these children are being rescued. They're being saved.
Yeah, and you know what? There have been doctors and nurses in training for 10 years that are going down, that are being sent down in massive hazmat suits to bring these children up. I mean, who knew? They've all signed non-disclosure agreements to keep it quiet. In Australia, who knew, right?
And, this is, it's such a polarizing topic. I had an experience just on the weekend with my mother and father-in-law. Bless them. I love them with an open heart. But my mother-in-law was looking on my phone, and she was swiping through some pictures, looking at her grandson, and she saw a picture on my phone. She said, "Oh, Bella, what's this picture?" And I said, "Oh, I know you. You don't want to know about that picture." And she goes, Yeah, I do. Try me. I said, "Oh, well, it represents Pizzagate." And she said, "Oh, what's Pizzagate?" I said, "Look, trust me, you don't want to know." And she's like, "Yeah, I do. Try me." So I said, "Well, Pizzagate represents the rape and torture, murder, and satanic rituals of children all around the world that are being used for sacrifice around this planet." Bella, you don't really think that. Get your head out of the sci-fi. Like I said, I know you. You don't want to be having this conversation. That's why I'm doing this work for you. Followed by very long, awkward silence. Followed by, "So we're going swimming tomorrow?"
Like I said in a previous show, some people can't hear, some people can't see, and some people just don't want to know. But there's going to be a lot of shock. There's going to be a lot of people are going to lose their minds over this when the truth comes out, and I don't think it's that far away.
So if you haven't heard this, and this is the first time you're hearing it, and discern for yourself what resonates and what does not. Get on the internet, do some research. We are not the only people saying this. There are millions of people around the world that are supporting this and who are talking about this, horror that has been happening right under our very noses since the dawning of humanity.
While we're on that, a lot of people talking about this, I did want to acknowledge today some of the people that we are hearing it from, just so that if you want to go and do some more listening yourself, these are some of the people that have the most powerful voices and the most knowledge and the most connection behind them. And for me, one of the big voices is Sasha Stone with the New Earth Project and the International Tribunal of Natural Justice. Now, Sasha speaks to the top scientists, top doctors, world leaders. He gets his information from all of this, and he brings it forth in a poetic, beautiful way. He speaks a language that goes straight to the soul. It's beautiful. Charlie Freak is another one. He's in Mexico, but he's American. He speaks incredible stuff. He has connections with the Q movement and with John F. Kennedy Jr. and this sort of thing. So Charlie Freak is incredible. Charlie Ward. There's so many. I've got my friend Dan Bohan. He talks about silver, gold. It's God energy here. This is not. All these people are connected to spirit, and this is where we're heading.
And if you're a little bit intergalactic and interdimensional like I am, you will love Elizabeth April. She has a YouTube channel. She is a channel she's a millennial channel who channels interdimensional beings. She particularly channels from the Palladian Security Council, which is another, race of beings that are outside, Earth. I know that if this is the first time you're hearing this, it's, there's other alien beings, there's other alien races who are helping in the evolutionary ascension of the planet. Yes, there are. And we're not the only ones talking about it. And we'll stick the link up below for some of the people that we've just talked about now. But check them out and discern for yourself. Like, what we say is not gospel. Go and discern for yourself and go, okay, this is kind of interesting to me. I want to go find out some information for myself.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different angles that people are coming at. In Australia, we have Karen Brewer, who is coming from let's get these pedophiles out of our judicial system. Get these pedophile judges off the benches.
And let's just touch on that again for a second, because there's two very distinct, sex trafficking, child trafficking rings going on at the moment. There's the underground movement, which is the children that are living under the earth, kept in cages, who are being fed to the reptilian species. And then there's the above ground trafficking movement, which is being serviced by, Hollywood and, the elites and the politicians. So Karen Brewer is referring to the above ground, movement. Just want to highlight there's a difference there.
Yeah. And it's, God, there's so much horror in so many different guises. I was just listening to a girl last night. She was a victim of, she's come out of the snuff industry in America. So she was born into a family who were connected to the CIA. Or I think her father was in the CIA, but it's... But there was a big place in Texas. I think it's called Uncle Sam's Snuff Factory. I can't think of her name, sorry, but she was talking. She's about 16, 17 now. She was talking, or maybe a bit older actually, but she was talking about her experience from a child. The reason going, and she's seen thousands and thousands of children murdered, raped, eaten. All this stuff in this one building in Texas. She survived because her family were connected, but she said she's just saw thousands and thousands of children over the years. Murdered, raped, tortured, all that hideous stuff. And that's one person. And, I first learned about snuff movies about 40 years ago. And, if there's 5 million kids a year disappearing, and they're the ones that they somehow know about, how many hundreds of millions of children have been taken, bred. I mean, it's sickening, and it goes on. And for the people that can't see it, can't hear it, don't want to know about it, again, get ready for it. Be aware that it's a possibility at the very least, because it's coming.
And that's a good segue into the intention that we wanted to talk about, which is possibilities, right? So we wanted to touch today on, nothing is set in stone, nothing is concrete. And as we ascend into fifth dimensional reality, we are multi-dimensional beings living in multi-dimensional realities. Is that Kookaburra?
He's still sitting there. He's just watching us. He's keeping his
We got this
eye on us.
Kookaburra going, hello.
Come on.
Imagine if he came and landed on your head.
Oh my God. That wouldn't surprise me, actually. But that's, we can't force these things, you see. When we try and force things, we kind of push them away. When we step back from it, the Kookaburra might just come and land on my head, but I can't drag that, I can't lasso that Kookaburra in, and we can't force things. The harder we push, the more we push away. So we have to step back and allow. And that comes back to this documentary I was watching last night called Superhuman. And one of the main things I got out of that was that basically our consciousness is aware of everything before we are. They were teaching this blind woman to read through her consciousness. It's just extraordinary, and it lays into the quantum sort of the unlimited possibility that exists all around us.
That we have at any given moment multiple timelines available to us, and what timeline are we going to jump into is based on the projection of our consciousness and where our thought is going, and that's individual and collective. Right? So coming back to the fear and the chaos going on at the moment with for example, the anti-vax movement, being so fearful that a mandatory vaccine is going to be forced upon them. I don't line up with that timeline. That's not a reality that I'm connecting with. The reality that I'm connecting with is that every human sovereign being on this earth has the right to choose what does or does not go into their body.
And whether we, come back to that quantum sort of like, when we focus on something, it's like I can't remember but we create it. So when we focus our vision onto something, we create it, and anything is possible. And it all comes down to energy and desire. So what are we creating? So what am I creating by having the vision of a golden, beautiful future with healing and all that awesome stuff? And what are you creating when you're focused on getting on sickness and illness and a dark future where we're all fucked and we're all locked up and we're all, under the communist rule and all this sort of stuff? That's not my future. It's just not my future, because I refuse to entertain that thought. My future is up here, and it's fucking so beautiful, and I've got the choice. I can choose to look at that and go, oh yeah, that's where I'm going to go, or I can choose here and I can go there. And there's an unbounded possibility around us, and we get to choose.
And so my question to you, if you've watched this far, is what reality do you want to line up with? What future do you want for yourself and your family and your wider network? We get to choose, and the more of us who choose collectively to have a golden future, a future where we live a life of freedom and joy, and there is so much abundance, and we have access to fresh, clean water and free energy, the more of us who collectively hold that vision for our future, I do believe that is the timeline that we will collectively jump into.
And it's unlimited. The water is unlimited. The land is unlimited. The energy is unlimited. We've lived in such a limited, there's not enough water, we've got to keep there's not enough land, that's mine. There's not enough to go around. Bullshit. There's unlimited of everything, because we are the creators. We are the creators. And
we were just talking earlier before this little chat about, the human brain hasn't really worked out, numbers. I mean, it knows numbers, but the human brain hasn't got its head around really the concept of how big numbers are. So, for example, $1 billion. So you've got billionaires on the planet. Do there need to really be any billionaires? Does any one person really need $1 billion? And, we've got so used to hearing that figure that, that's not that much. But if you were to hear the figure, we were just talking about this before, 1 billion seconds ago, from right this minute, the year was 1988. 1 billion seconds ago was 1988. Get your head around the magnitude of that number. Who needs $1 billion? And I don't have anything against billionaires. The point that we're making is that there is enough abundance on this planet for every single being on this planet.
Yeah, I mean, there are trillionaires and quadrillion. We've talked about the squillionaires, whatever that.
Quadrillionaires.
1 0 0 all the way up to 30 zeros.
You've got trillionaires over here, and you've got people over here that don't have any food. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm not lined up with a timeline where that continues in our future.
And the thing is that these fuckers over here, they stole it from these people. I mean, they stole it through their taxes, through their labours, in every illegal, nefarious way they stole from these people.
Income tax is the biggest crime ever instilled upon humanity.
And we're on the verge of the greatest economic restructure in humanity's history. So
bring it
on.
Bring it.
Bring Nasara. Bring Jasara.
Check it out, Nasara, Jasara. Another thing to Google.
These devils that have been thieving, eating babies. Their money's, a lot of it's already been taken back in gold. It's all going to flood back in, and every single person on the planet will be taken care of, as they should. We're free beings, and they've controlled us through money and fear and lack. And those days are over. Those days are over.
And this might be TMI, but as you're talking about this, my anus started vibrating. It's not really my anus, it's my root chakra.
I love it when she talks about her
anus. It's my
root
chakra. Root chakra is connected to your stability, your finance, your security, right? My anus started vibrating. My root chakra started vibrating when we're talking about the money coming back to the people, the Nasara Jasara. How exciting is that?
Oh my God.
Could you imagine if your anus was vibrating?
Come on, start. It hasn't. I'm going to have to think about that. I'm going to practice that when I get home later. Okay. It sounds like fun, right? You know, who knows?
It's fun.
But yeah, these are the things that you know, the vibrations that change within our body, and again that perineum area, that root chakra area, it's the kundalini, where the kundalini lay, and when it starts waking up, it starts firing up and starts vibrating. So, you know, I remember years ago I was in a meditation, and this is before I knew any of all this stuff, and all of a sudden I was just like, it was like I was having this like, it was like this orgasm, huge, or and this is crude, I'm going to say this in a really crude way, but I felt like I was being fucked by God, and ew, it was like, you know, the best unbelievable thing, and that's pretty crude, but you know what, that's what it is, and we need to be able to express ourselves in these ways, so that it's okay for other people to express themselves in that way, and it's okay, we don't have to feel bad or, you know, dirty or anything. This isn't sexual. This is just divine vibration.
This is energy. This is vibration.
It's where we're moving to. This is where healing is going to come from. Yeah.
This is source energy, God, divine, whatever you want to call it.
You know what it is too? It's this vibration and this which has been hijacked by these
elite,
sick reptile
lizard people.
This beautiful Kundalini vibration has been taken over and used in every disgusting way you could possibly imagine, and it's made to be dirty. That's why we have this huge pornographic and just snuff films, all these hideous things that it's an abomination of something that is truly sacred, and that is the change that's taking place.
Yeah. And you know, I hold the vision of a future where sex again becomes sacred, where it becomes a sacred act between, you know, lovers, man, woman, man, woman, whatever. But people who hold themselves as holy, godly, amazing, divine beings that are sharing and exchanging this beautiful energy, and there's nothing dirty about it.
Oh, you know, we're made to feel guilty. The church, we grow up with the church telling us it's don't touch yourself. Stop that child from touching themselves. It's disgusting, and it's like, you better not masturbate and all this kind of stuff.
The shame.
Like, babies are born with an innate sort of desire to express their everything. They want to express everything, you know.
They want to express their essence.
They want to express who they are, and that gets beaten out of us, beaten down with guilt and shame. And you know, those days again, that's
they are numbered. We are in the death rattle. That's Sasha Stone's words. The death rattle. I don't know if you've ever been around someone who's close to dying, but their breath, they call it the death rattle. So we are in the death rattle of the 3D collapse, the paradigm collapsing before the birth of utopia.
Yeah, it's like a dying monster. This beast is dying, and it's going to take everything down with it that it can possibly take, you know. Whatever. And
gone. It all starts with the liberation of these children that have been kept underground. The liberation of these children being freed, and you know, these reptile motherfuckers losing their food source.
Yeah. You know, and Elizabeth April says too, there's a lot of, you know, I haven't been underground, I haven't seen the reptiles, but a lot of people talk about them. Elizabeth April talks about them a lot. She's connecting. She says there's a lot of these the reptilians underground who, they don't want this anymore either. They're not all bad, you know. They want freedom from this entanglement in this horror show as well. So, you know, there's good on both sides and there's bad on both sides. It's like, you know, the law of attraction. The bad will attract the bad, and the good will attract the good. And, you know, let's go with that and choose our vibration, choose our awareness, and know that our consciousness is aware before we are, so that we can get ready to be ready. And that's Abraham Hicks saying that. and get out ahead of it and prepare for this golden age in our minds, because that's what's coming. And go and buy silver quickly before it all runs out. God's sake.
You heard it first.
From Dan Bohan, thank you.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you very much. Have a golden day.
We love you.
We do love you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.